אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו, וקיימנו, והגיענו לזמן הזה. עזבו לתודה,
Shalom to Rabbi Doron Peretz, chairman of World Mizrahi.
Yoni, shalom, shalom, hi.
Your son Daniel is missing since the massive attack on Simchat Torah. What could you tell us about what happened there?
Our son Daniel, along with two members of his tank, are still missing in action. Our son Daniel and his tzevet, he was the commander, the officer of a tank which was positioned in Nachal Oz in the south. He was there for Shabbat. And we know that his tank was involved it was a base which was overrun by Hamas, and many people were killed. There were many infantry were killed. It was really horrific. But him and his tank crew managed to get into the tank, and a number of other tanks were involved in tank battles. We know not in the base, but in the area. And since Thursday, we hadn't had any contact with him since the first day of the war. We phoned him many times. We know that they don't, you don't take a phone into the tank. So we thought, he's in his tank, he's okay. Once we knew, which I'll speak about my son in a moment, my son Yonatan, who was at home for Yom Tov and Shabbos and fought in Nachal Oz b'mikre, he was sent over there, noticed that the tanks were out, the number of tanks were fighting, were not in the tank shed. And we heard, via that he had been involved in active fighting. So we were comforted for the first 24 hours that Bezrat Hashem all is okay. But as time lingered on, it wasn't adding up. It can't be that we haven't heard anything. And we eventually heard quite a while, only on the Thursday, a number of days later, we heard that unfortunately his tank was the tank was found, and there was one dead body in the tank, which was not his. It was of a soldier of his, Tomer Leibovitz, which was from Tel Aviv, who was buried yesterday. He spent some time with the family this week. And Daniel, along with two other members of his tzevet, their bodies were not in the tank. They were not there. And therefore, the person from the army, Yossi, an amazing man who's in Miluim and accompanying our family, each family's got somebody accompanying them, and he's been nothing but amazing every single day. He's been in our home, and he's been an incredible support to my wife and I and our children. Told us that that he's missing, but the reason he's defined as missing is because there are three other categories that they have no evidence that he's part of them. He's not part of any of the dead soldiers in Israel that the army has. He's not part of any of the wounded, and there's no evidence that he's been taken captive. Those many soldiers who have been taken captive, the army knows from either first-hand witnesses, eyewitnesses, cameras or videos or other means where they can say with a level of certainty that they've been taken captive. And even though there's obviously a relatively high chance that our son Daniel and his crew are among them, his official definition is ne'edar, missing in action. And we really hope and pray that if he was injured, we know the tank was hit by an RPG, which many have survived RPG missiles. We hope that if he was wounded, only lightly wounded, and wherever he is, he's well and strong, along with his tzevet Bezrat Hashem.
And what are your most optimistic hopes?
Look, we obviously know there's a very outside chance that he's not in Gaza. Lefi, obviously you asked about, rationally, what are the hopes? There's a very strong possibility that he's been taken captive, along with we don't know that. He's still defined as ne'edar, missing. But if that is the case, our hope is that if he was injured, he was lightly injured, and along with his tzevet, and they're being looked after. And we hope and pray that, obviously, Hamas know the value of a Jewish life. They know the value of a soldier and an officer. And they'll do everything to look after him and keep him alive along with all the other, those others who have been confirmed to have been captured.
Now, another son, Yonatan, who was lightly wounded in this war, he got married this week. It's hard to comprehend this scenario.
Yeah. If you would have told me that this is a scenario that, we or any family would have to deal with and can deal with in a normal, so to speak, way, I wouldn't have believed it. But we were somehow able to do it. Our son Yonatan, and I think for me, the thing which gave me so much strength despite the impossible, or not impossible, the difficult concern and, for the fate of Daniel, is the fact that Yonatan himself fought in the battles on the border and himself could have been killed time and time again, 10 times over. And the fact that he is only relatively lightly wounded is an unbelievable miracle. I'll just briefly tell you what happened, that as opposed to Daniel, who was in the base for Shabbat in Nachal Oz, Yonatan was with us, with his fiancée Galia, then fiancée, now his wife. He was with her at us for Shabbat in Simchat Torah, when the rockets were coming over, and his phone's on in Shabbat, even though he doesn't look at it normally and doesn't answer, but it was pinging and pinging so many times, and he noticed there was a message from his Magad. He's a Mempei at company commander in the with new recruits of the Tzanchanim, that his Magad, his battalion commander, said anyone who should come to Sderot. Things are happening. He didn't know what he was getting involved in. He left here in 3 seconds in his car. And literally, Yoni, for the next 6 hours, from arriving around 9 in the morning, they were told to meet at Magena David Adom, I think it was, in Sderot. From Sderot to Tzomet Shara Negev, to Saad, to Kibbutz, to Nachal Oz, the base. They fought in gun battle after gun battle, being shot at from all sides. The jeep in front of him got hit by an RPG, and 3 soldiers were killed. The Samgad of Maglan and other soldiers, and unbelievable people that my son knew and was friendly with some of them. And they got shot at from all sides. The person on his left was shot in the stomach. And when they went into Nachal Oz, they saved actually 20. His koach, it was not an organic force. It was a couple of chevra from Yamam, from SWAT Special Forces, and a group of a general in Miluim, and his commander and a couple of other officers together went in. And he actually knew the base because he had fought he had been positioned there a while ago. So he was involved in sort of leading them in, because he knew the base better than anyone else. And after a couple of hours of fighting with terrorists and thankfully saving 25, I think it was about 20 or 25 or 30 young, mainly tatzpitaniot and staff of the base, which they found in hiding places. And he said every single car that he saw, every Hummer, every vehicle, every truck, every army vehicle had been hit by a missile, by an RPG, and was burning. Many, many soldiers were killed there. And they went from building to building, killed many terrorists. And unfortunately, him and 2 other soldiers were wounded, 1 shot in the back, 1 shot in the stomach. And he only miraculously only shot in the leg, and only shot through the leg. When he went to a leading orthopedic surgeon in Israel who deals with recuperation, he could not believe. He said, when I heard about your injury, I wanted to see it. I didn't believe there wasn't significant damage. He said it missed all the main arteries, all the main nerves, all the main, the bones, of course. And the fact that he could, hopping on 1 leg, be at his wedding, and in that state, was an unbelievable miracle. So that's something we're enormously grateful for. And we had to make a decision once we knew that Daniel was in the situation of being ne'edar, being missing in action. And we understood from the army that it's probably going to take a bit of time until that status changed, because they now have to do a ballistic analysis of the tank and, see if there's blood and et cetera, just analyze what happened. And once we understood also that we're not sure what the time frame and that's going to be, we spoke to the couple about what they felt they wanted to do. And I would say, Yoni, it was a decision made together, because everything affects everyone. Our son Yonatan, his brother's missing in action. Galia also became very close to him. It's her brother-in-law who, by the way, Galia and her family are from Kibbutz Saad. And of course, they also don't have a home. And Yonatan and Galia are supposed to live inside. And Daniel, who's positioned in Nachal Oz, would visit Saad, Kibbutz Saad very much. It was very close, and they became very close as well. And it's her brother-in-law it's our son, my wife and I, and with the Landau family. So we thought together, and it just felt like the right thing to do. And Yoni, I don't know how, but somehow I think Hashem gives the kochot. There's decisions to make, and somehow even though it was tinged with an underlying concern and a certain sadness and a certain worry and everything, and although there is hope for his fate, and we're still very, very hopeful. And as Chazal have taught us, whatever situation one is, there has to be hope. And even though that was the background music, somehow it made I must tell you, Yoni, somebody said to me, one of our friends, she said to me after the chuppah, she said it was It was the holiest, saddest, happiest chuppah she was ever at. And somehow it just we had so many officers and soldiers around. And it was, by the way, it was in a much smaller, it wasn't a big wedding. We were planning a very big wedding in Ashkelon. It was made because of the, the Pikud HaOref and the circumstances. It was much, much smaller, maybe 1/5 of the size or a little bit bigger than that. And we really had to limit it. We had an online version of it. So it was really just with very close friends and family, soldiers and friends of his who came and went. And there was just something very special about it. And we all knew the background. And somehow the simcha carried. My wife was incredibly brave, braver than me. And somehow, it happened. And I just think maybe to say for me, Yoni, is that when I reflect on it, I think we are part of an unbelievable people. We are part of a people who have maybe suffered more than any other people, lived with more uncertainty than any other people, perhaps, but a people who even in the horrendous, suffering in Egypt, Chazal tell us how Bat Levi and Amram brought children into the world from which Moshe Rabbeinu was born. We know that in the Shoah, the heroic stories of people having children. And therefore, we come from a family of a Jewish people which has faced much bigger things than our family and are facing. And so many other families in Israel, as we know, are facing unbelievable challenges. And we move on. We believe in life. I think our people affirms and believes in life arguably more than any other people on earth. L'chaim. And hence, somehow, I think Yoni, I'll add one other point. I think the chibuk of Am Yisrael, for me, I learned it's not a cliche, of our family, everyone just doing above and beyond, of our Yad Binyamin community who organized this wedding, friends of our wife, my wife's friends of her, just unbelievable. Organized this wedding in a couple of days. The whole community, our Mizrahi family worldwide, and just thousands, not tens of thousands of people davening for Daniel and davening for the soldiers and messages and not leaving us alone. I think all of these things buoy you and give you that ability to hold yourself up. I suppose like people holding you up when you can't stand on your own. And somehow there was a simcha, and it was very, very mesameach despite the circumstances.
Rabbi Doron Peretz, Chairman of World Mizrahi, thank you very much. And from all of us, Mazal Tov.
Thank you, Yoni. And just a bracha, as our forces are probably going to end up going in, this week or sometime, we just, maybe about to go in, I don't know, we just wish them well. And please God, every single one of them, Lo yipol sar mirosham, each one of them should come back well and healthy, achieving all the aims that the state and army wish to achieve. And we should only know from this time, Yafeila lo ora mishubud lugula, hashta b'agalav izum karev. Amen. B'ezrat Hashem.